Operation Epic Fury.
Tonight, the Middle East may be entering its most dangerous phase yet, not because the missiles stopped, but because the talking started. Iran launched ballistic missiles at Israel. Israel struck back, and President Trump stepped in with a blunt message: enough! Get back to the table. And suddenly the headlines look like total chaos. Shooting, threats, warnings, negotiations, all at the same time. But this is where it gets serious. When enemies are still armed, still angry, and suddenly discussing terms, that's often the last mile before either peace or a much bigger war. So the question is quite simple. Is President Trump forcing an off-ramp, or are we one misstep from total escalation? See, this is the part the corporate media will never explain clearly. What we're watching is not random confusion. It looks contradictory because both sides are trying to convert military pressure into political leverage. Iran launched waves of ballistic missiles, with Israeli officials warning that even a handful of those weapons could wipe out neighborhoods and kill masses of civilians. Israel then signaled, as it always does, that it will not sit back and absorb terror. But President Trump, acting like the adult in the room, cut through all the noise. His message has been consistent. You fired your missiles, that's enough. Now get back to the table and make a deal. It matters because the Trump administration is not offering weakness, not offering another Obama-style cash palette disaster, and not rewarding terror before results. This is America First clarity. Not sanctions relief up front, no blank checks, no nuclear weapons. That is what real leadership looks like when the region is on the edge and everyone else is testing whether peace is real or fake. And while we're talking about systems designed to confuse people until they surrender, let me tell you about something that hits millions of American families directly. Now, pay attention to this, because if you or someone in your family is on Medicare, this directly affects your wallet. Medicare is confusing by design. The mailers, the robocalls, the fine print, the commercials, it's all built to keep you overwhelmed so you pick a plan and never look at it again. That is the Medicare confusion industrial complex. And seniors are paying for it without even realizing it. And Chapter is simple by design. One call, one advisor, and they compare plans based on your doctors, your prescriptions, and your needs, not somebody else's sales quota. Some seniors could save as much as $1,100 a year. So, do not guess. Call Chapter at 910-728-4109. That's the number you see on your screen. Pause the video, write it down, give them a call, and get help from someone who actually walks you through it. When the stakes are high, whether in global negotiations or your monthly bills, clarity matters. That takes us right back to what President Trump is doing here. You see, because this is the twist. See, the biggest headline may not be the missiles at all. It may be that both sides appear to be fighting and negotiating at the exact same time. President Trump posted that both Israel and Iran are looking to do an immediate ceasefire, with final peace negotiations moving ahead, while also making clear the pressure stays on until a final deal is reached. That's the key. The Trump administration is not confusing leverage with surrender, and when you look at the posts, the statements, and the reactions side by side, you can see the story is entering the transition zone between open conflict and a forced settlement. Breaking 911 posting this: Iran launching a barrage of ballistic missiles as Iran at Israel as fighting resumes, shattering the April ceasefire and prompting Israeli retaliatory strikes. Israeli ambassador to U.S. Yishol Leiter said Iran fired 11 ballistic missiles, warning that each had the potential to devastate an entire neighborhood and cause mass casualties, adding that Israel would not tolerate such attacks. Check this out.
And we start with a Fox News alert. Israel and Iran trading fire overnight, testing the already fragile ceasefire with the most strikes we have seen in months. President Trump posting to Truth Social just a few minutes ago saying, quote, Israel and Iran must immediately stop shooting.
So the question is, I thought we got most of these ballistic missiles. Apparently they still have the means to launch them. So the missiles are flying even as Trump demanded the shooting stop. Now watch them unload on both sides, saying Israel and Iran have been fighting so long they don't even know what they're doing. This is from C-SPAN.
Israel says that Iran violated the peace agreement and the ceasefire agreement. Do you believe that Iran is still committed to peace?
Yeah, I do. They violated it, but Israel violated it too.
Are you questioning if Israel is committed
Israel, as soon as we made the deal, they came out and they dropped a load of bombs, the likes of which I've never seen before. The biggest load that we've seen. I'm not happy with Israel. You know, when I say, okay, now you have 12 hours, you don't go out in the first hour and just drop everything you have on them. So I'm not happy with them. I'm not happy with Iran either. But I'm really unhappy if Israel's going out this morning because of one rocket that didn't land, that was shot, perhaps by mistake, that didn't land. I'm not happy about that. You know what? We basically have two countries that have been fighting so long and so hard that they don't know what the fuck they're doing. Do you understand that?
President Trump dropping the F-bomb. He didn't just vent. He moved to lock in a ceasefire. Next to his Truth Social post, laying out immediate talks and makes clear the blockade stays put until there's a final deal. He said both sides, Israel and Iran, are looking to do an immediate ceasefire. Final negotiations on peace are proceeding, subject to ignorance or stupidity getting in its way. The blockade will remain in place and in full force in effect until a final deal is reached. Things should move quickly. Thank you for your attention to this matter, President Donald J. Trump. So, the post setting the term ceasefire now. Pressure stays on. Next, Trey Yanks reports that Iran is halting attacks after Trump's demand, with the regime looking boxed in.
Negotiations on peace are proceeding.
Chief Foreign Correspondent Trey Yanks was talking to the president. He is live in Tel Aviv with the latest. Hey, Trey.
Yeah, hey, guys, good morning. It looks like these sides are listening to President Trump. Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps just announced they are halting attacks against Israel, but maintain the ability to fire again if the Israelis target Hezbollah in Lebanon. This is a significant development and an indication we may be looking at an off-ramp here after a whirlwind 24 hours across the region. This all started yesterday afternoon when the IDF struck the Lebanese capital of Beirut, going after the Hezbollah neighborhood of Dakhya. Immediately after, Iranian officials threatened to fire on Israel, and hours later they did just that, launching 4 waves of ballistic missiles toward the northern part of this country, sending hundreds of thousands of people into bomb shelters. The Israelis, after, decided they were going to return fire and strike Iran. But I was speaking with President Trump as these missiles were soaring through the skies of this country, getting his initial reaction, and the president told me what I would suggest to Iran: you've shot your missiles, that's enough. Get back to the table and make a deal. And again, the president reiterating his desire for a diplomatic solution today, calling on both Israel and Iran to stop shooting. The Israelis conducted dozens of strikes against the Iranian regime in response to that missile fire. And then early this morning, just after sunrise, sirens sounded across Israel's second largest city of Tel Aviv amid incoming Houthi ballistic missile fire launched from Yemen, an Iranian proxy there. The Iranians then followed up with more ballistic missiles against Jerusalem, Tel Aviv, and the northern city of Haifa before all of this started to de-escalate amid those calls from President Trump for both sides to stop shooting. But again, the latest information that we have, Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps has announced they will halt their fire against Israel, and the Israelis have not struck Iran for at least 4 hours, and
So, Iran says is backing off. That tracks what Trump is telling them in real time. Up next, here the president's blunt message: you fired your missiles, now get back to the table and make a deal.
I just got off the phone with President Trump, who is following the developing situation across the region. He told me what I would suggest to Iran: you've shot your missiles, that's enough. Get back to the table and make a deal. The president once again calling for a negotiated settlement. He also spoke about the ongoing negotiations with Iran, saying we are very close. I would say an agreement would be signed on Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday of this coming week. And now this takes place. And so the president will get briefed on what is happening right now, this ongoing Iranian ballistic missile attack against Israel. But I asked him about those initial IDF strikes that took place earlier today. He told me they were not coordinated with the United States, and I asked him for reaction to the Israeli strikes against Hezbollah in Beirut, and President Trump said, I'm not happy about it. Now, more broadly, he said that the ongoing Iranian missile fire toward Israel at this moment certainly is not going to help the negotiations. But again, he is calling on the Iranians to stop firing these missiles and get back to the negotiating table to ultimately reach a settlement. The president talked about the power of the U.S. military and also the power of the ongoing U.S. naval blockade of Iranian ports. This blockade, John, is currently crippling the Iranian economy. They are losing hundreds of millions of dollars each and every day. And that's part of the reason that President Trump has been able to maintain this strategic patience across the Middle East.
So that's the Trump formula: force pressure, the negotiations on Americans' terms. Now Netanyahu answers with his own warning: if Iran fires again, Israel will hit back hard. From Reuters.
If the terrorist regime makes the mistake of attacking us again, we will respond with force. Because Israel has the full right to self-defense, and we exercise it whenever necessary. I say this to you, dear citizens of Israel, just as I say it with appreciation and respect in my good conversations with my friend, President Trump.
So he says any new attacks will get forceful response. Meanwhile, one of the regime figures threatening America and Israel reportedly didn't make it through the day. This from World News. IRGC chief Ahmed Vahidi, who vowed yesterday to turn the Gulf of Oman into a graveyard for the U.S. Navy and end Israel's existence, apparently has been killed in Israeli airstrikes today. So after that reported strike on an IRGC chief, the leverage gets even clearer. Trump shuts the door on the Obama playbook and says there will be no sanctions relief or frozen assets up front.
Do you know where all of Iran's nuclear material is?
Yes. Yes.
Would you unfreeze any Iranian assets or lift any sanctions up front as a part of any deal? So that would come after.
Comes after, yeah. If
they
behave,
turned
if they
over
do a good
their
job, we
nuclear
start
enrichment
talking, yeah.
material.
Unlike Obama. Obama flew a Boeing 757, a plane I know very well. They took the seats out and they loaded it up with $1.7 billion in cash from the banks in Maryland and Virginia and D.C. They emptied out the banks and they gave them 1.7 in green, and they gave them tens of billions of dollars, just kept giving them money, and it didn't work.
So, what does it mean? It means the center of gravity has changed. Earlier, the question was whether Iran could keep firing, and now the real question is whether Iran can keep firing and still avoid a deal on President Trump's terms. That is a much tougher position for Tehran. The Trump administration has stripped this down to simple, hard lines. Stop shooting, no sanctions relief up front, no reward for bad behavior, and no path to a nuclear weapon. That's why even dramatic developments, including reports of senior IRGC figures being taken out, now feel secondary to the larger point. The endgame is forming in real time. Israel wants lasting security. President Trump wants the war ended permanently. Those goals overlap, but the diplomacy has to hold, and that makes this phase incredibly volatile. Now, here's the bottom line. The real story tonight, not just that missiles flew or that threats were made. The real story is that President Trump appears to be forcing this conflict into a decision point. Keep fighting or come to the table under pressure. That's the formula. Strength first, deal second, not the weak-kneed disaster America got when Democrats were in charge, and not another giveaway to a regime that spent years funding terror and threatening Americans. If Iran is pausing attacks, that's not a coincidence. It's what happens when the White House projects strength instead of confusion. But this still is the most unstable moment, because one retaliatory strike, one misunderstanding, one act of ego could blow the whole thing apart. So I want to hear from you. Do you believe President Trump can force a real deal here? Yes or no? Drop your answer in the comments. Share this with someone who needs the truth, and make sure you subscribe for more America First reporting. But most importantly, text the 2 words you see on your screen. Raw feed, see those words? Text it to 844-840-4963. We're cutting out the middleman, guys. We're tired of seeing all the comments and you guys saying, oh, I'm not getting notifications. I don't see you in my feed anymore. Well, the only way around that is for me to send a direct message to you. That's it. Very simple. Text the words raw feed to 844-840-4963, and I will send you a direct text message every night so you get the news that you rely on. And let's celebrate America 250. It's right around the corner. Check out the Next News merch shelf below this video or shop.nextnewsnetwork.com. Pick up something you like. Support Next News and America 250.
The system controls information.
Information control is power.
They don't want you to see this.
The truth only survives together. They don't want this. Share this now.